Greetings, and welcome to the fourth and final session of DOE's Grants Management Division's four-part series on how to develop a DOE grant application. My name is Asteria Hiera, and I'm one of the four members of DOE's Grants Management Division. Together, we support the agency in its grants application, grants making, and grants management efforts. In the first session, Where to Start, we introduced DOE's mission, shared how you can find out about Notices of Funding Availability, or NOFAs, and Requests for Applications, or RFAs, and we delved into how to get started in developing your application by determining your eligibility, reading the RFA, and importantly, getting started on the required documents. In the second session, we introduced a project design tool and used it to create an outline in response to a DOEE RFA. We also spoke about your work plan, its content, and how to use it to help you flesh out your project details. Session 3 was all about budgets, understanding the different categories of a budget table, how to develop a budget, and the level of detail that should go into a budget justification narrative. In this session, we will put together all the pieces to complete your application. Today's learning objectives are to develop the applicant information session, to learn how to put together the project description, how to submit an application, learn about the selection process and post-award requirements, and if not awarded, what next? The DOE RFA has specific requirements on what applicants need to provide to tell their story. This is an opportunity for you to show and tell how great your organization is. Why should you be selected as the winner? This is your time to shine. This is where you show your organization's strength and ability to implement the project and to responsibly steward government funds. Specifically, you will need to provide information on the following: applicant organization, key personnel, past performance, and partners. For this section, the DOEE RFA instructs you to describe the named applicant's history, mission, and current or past projects that demonstrate the organization's capacity to achieve the project's goals. The applicant can reference its website or attach an organizational brochure or a resume. The applicant organization description should be concise and focus on the ability of your organization to meet the stated need. This section should include your mission statement, your history, your reason for being established, size and growth of your budget, staff, and volunteers, your service constituency, any unique characteristics, your current and/or past projects, and any significant and/or recent accomplishments. The DOEE RFA scoring criteria may include language about demonstrated experience in whatever subject area the RFA is seeking. So it is within this applicant organization section that you will address that criteria. If, however, the experience was gained through a district grant or contract, then you will also include it in the attachment section that specifically asks you to identify past performance working with the district government. We'll address that in a few slides. Also, provide a few sentences on how your organization is aligned with DOEE's mission. Have you worked with another organization that DOE has funded before? Who else has successfully funded you in the past? You should cite this information to help the review team better understand your value to the project and to DOE's mission. Support your narrative and establish credibility by using newspaper or press clippings, using links to online video clips, letters of support, letters of appreciation, and if you have any financial and service collaborators, list them. So basically, who else thinks you do great work? Show and tell what has been said about you. Name the source. Perhaps a local well-known newspaper wrote about you. You should include those newspaper clippings. That would be important. After applicant organization, the DOEE RFA asks you to identify the key team members for the project and provide brief biographies or their resumes. The team members can be staff, volunteers, subgrantees, or contractors. And don't forget, include resumes that demonstrate experience that is relevant to the project you are proposing. So please note that the DOEE RFA has a 10-page limit for the narrative part of the RFA. Supporting documents such as resumes may be submitted as attachments. However, you may still want to include information about key personnel in the narrative, especially if the scoring criteria asks about the experience of the organization staff. If highlighting the strength of your key personnel in the narrative makes your application stronger, then by all means do so. Next, the DOEE RFA asks that you identify district agencies from which the applicant has received funding as a contractor, grantee, or partner in the past 5 years. Provide specific information, including the grant or contract's name, title, the district agency or agencies, the grant number, contract numbers, or other identifiers, the amounts paid, and what was accomplished as a result of funding. So this section is not part of the 10-page narrative section. This is to be included as an attachment. But again, if your previous district grants are relevant to your proposal, and particularly if the scoring criteria is looking for demonstrated experience in that area, then by all means, necessarily speak to that in your narrative so it stands out to the reviewers. Don't just list it in the attachments. But even if the past experience is relevant to the proposal, but is not a major component of your scoring criteria, you may want to briefly address it in your proposal to paint a comprehensive picture of your organization's ability to do the work. In such instance, use your judgment in determining if and to what extent you want to speak to your past experience within the narrative. So there's guidance on how to include project partners. It states in the RFA, if one or more partners are to be involved in the project, the applicant must describe each partner's involvement and resource commitments. The partnering organization should attach a letter of support. If your partners are any of the following entities or types of entities, you must provide specific documentation as outlined in the RFA. Those entities are District of Columbia Public Schools or DCPS, property owner, partnering organizations, and the National Park Service or NPS. So that was the applicant information section as requested by the RFA. Next, we'll review how to put all the pieces of the RFA that we've worked on throughout this series together to complete your application. Once you have worked on all the aspects of your projects, you put it together in the narrative within the part in the DOE RFA that we refer to as the project description. Before I delve into the project description, I want to share the scoring criteria table with you all. Those who have watched the previous 3 sessions in this series are already familiar with it. All DOE RFAs have scoring criteria in a table that looks just like this. Some of the criteria may be similar, such as those that address the budget, and others will definitely or definitively be different and project specific. In all cases, the scoring criteria is what your application will be evaluated on. In the previous sessions, we had highlighted the importance of visiting and revisiting the scoring criteria as you work on the proposal to make sure that you are responding to the RFA's priorities. As you sit to finalize your project description, take a look again and be sure that your response is aligned with DOE stated needs as represented by the scoring criteria, along with all the other parts of the RFA. For this project, the review panel will seek an explanation of these items as they evaluate your application. They will seek an explanation that your application presents outcomes and objectives that will accomplish the goals of the RFA, presents a clear and feasible plan for achieving the project, presents a detailed, comprehensive, and cost-effective line item numeric budget outlining all the project costs, presents a detailed and thorough budget narrative with clear justification for the funds requested, demonstrates substantial experience conducting pollution-focused, and in another line, conducting stormwater runoff-focused community engagement, demonstrates substantial knowledge and experience implementing pollution reduction, and in another criterion, implementing stormwater runoff reduction projects. And then there's an additional 5 points to any applicants who are a local district entity. And the description of what makes up a local district entity is within the RFA as an attachment, as an appendice. So back to this project description. The project description, often referred to as the project narrative, is where you get to narrate to the reviewers clearly and succinctly what your project is about, who it's for, how will it be accomplished, how will you know if you've accomplished your goals, and how much will it cost to accomplish. The DOE RFA states that you should organize this 10-page section of your application in sections that follow the order of the criteria of the scoring box. It then states that the review panel will seek an explanation of the following as they evaluate your application: goals and objectives, target audience, project activities, outputs and outcomes, and project budget. These terms are defined in the RFA, and they're also covered in session 2 of the series. Using the scoring criteria categories to guide the order of your project description can also help you ensure that you haven't missed any DOE priority areas. As an example, using the scoring criteria we just looked at, the order of your project description may look like this. Now, cover sheet, project summary, etc., are not in the scoring criteria, but clearly a cover sheet is what comes before. So some of the items you use your judgment as far as where to place, but use the order of the scoring criteria to place those that do apply. So cover sheet would go first, then project summary, then presents outcomes and objectives that will accomplish the goals of the RFA, as that is the first criterion on the scoring criteria. Those, that area will include goals and objectives, target audience, project activities, outputs and outcomes, measurements of project success. All those areas fall under outcomes and objectives that go into accomplishing the goals of the RFA. Next, you will include information on presents a clear and feasible plan for achieving the project, as that is the next scoring criterion on the scoring box. And then budget. And then experience conducting pollution-focused and stormwater-focused engagement, community engagement, and then experience in implementing pollution reduction projects, experience implementing stormwater mitigation projects, and then applicant organization information. Some key points in writing tips to remember when writing. Make sure the goals and activities are in line with the priority points in the RFA. Be specific with regards to who, what, where, when, why, and how. Use clear and concise language. Avoid wordiness and stay away from jargon and acronyms your reader may not understand. Also, do not be redundant. Use examples and use the active voice. So for example, active voice, you ate all the potato chips. Passive voice, all the potato chips were eaten. Use the active voice. Review and edit. Get others to review and edit for you. Every detail matters. Be consistent. Clarity is everything. Allow plenty of time to incorporate suggested changes. And there's always one more typo, so use spell check. Include a cover sheet in the format specified in Appendix 3. Make certain that the funding amount requested on the cover sheet matches the total amount requested in your budget and budget narrative. In an RFA, there are some supporting documents that are required. These include your organization's financial statements or letters of support from organizations that you have identified as partners, for example. But you may have additional supporting documents that strengthen your proposal by providing more details. Common types of optional supporting documents include maps, images, diagrams, news articles. Also, supporting letters from organizations or individuals or associations or any entity that supports your project who are not necessarily identified as project partners. Lastly, the DOE RFA includes a checklist for applicants for you to make sure that you are providing everything needed to make your application package complete and eligible for review. Some of the items on the checklist include: is the application from one entity as the applicant? Is the cover sheet Appendix 3 completed and signed and included as part of the application? Is there a numeric budget? There are 23 different items in this checklist. After working through the various components of the application, it is easy to accidentally forget to include an item. The checklist makes it easy not to forget. Be sure to use it to make sure your application is considered for review. So after having done all the hard work, be sure to finish strong by following the instructions on how to submit your grant. Our RFA provides specific instruction on how to format your application. When printed, the application would appear on an 8.5 by 11 paper with 1-inch margins. Each project description is limited to 10 double-spaced pages. Budget tables, resumes, photographs, work plans, and other supporting documents may be submitted as attachments in addition to the 10-page max for project description, and you must save the document and all attachments as one PDF file. We also provide specifics on where and when your application must be submitted. In this example, it says that all applications must be received at the email address below by 11:59 p.m. on April 31st, 2021. This means that if we don't receive your application by the date and time identified in the RFA, your application will not be scored. It will not be considered for award. With regards to where, we provide an email address and instruct applicants to submit one copy formatted as a PDF. Note that DOE will not receive faxed nor hard copies. This is an overview of the selection process. Review panels vary in size, but typically are made up of 3 to 5 people, so an odd number. Review panel members can be from DOE staff or outside of DOEE, as long as you do not have a conflict of interest. The review panel will review, score, and rank each applicant's application, and the review panel will recommend to the DOE director the most responsive application for grant award. Within 4 to 6 weeks after project deadline, you will receive notification of award or non-selection. If you've been granted an award, now the work begins. You should read the agreement, review awarded budgets, submit proof of insurance, attend the kickoff meeting with DOEE staff and key partners, submit an updated work plan, understand the reporting requirements for quarterly progress reports, final reports, understand the project deliverables, understand invoicing and the reimbursement process, and attend check-ins as necessary. If you have been granted an award, all of this will be covered at a kickoff meeting. This is just an overview. If you haven't been awarded, you can request a debriefing to learn how you can improve for next time. So to that end, keep the application as a resource. It might help you prepare for the next application round. You might have a different outcome next time. And then notify stakeholders who may have supported your application by way of letters of support, community members who might have provided letters of support, and/or who may have, in fact, brought the problem to your attention. Any other stakeholders that you notified about your application. Thank you for watching this session, or if you made it through all 4, thank you for watching the series. We hope that the information shared has enhanced your understanding on how to develop a DOE grant application and empowered you to apply for a future funding opportunity. If you have any questions, you can contact us at doee.grants@dc.gov, and visit the Grants and Other Funding webpage for access to current funding opportunities and archived RFAs. Thank you for your interest in DOEE grants.